In the last episode, we traced the final hours of the last day 18-year-old Zebb Quinn was seen alive. The urgent page that made him abruptly change his evening plans and then vanish without a trace. 2 weeks later, his Mazda was found abandoned in the parking lot of a local barbecue restaurant. Inside, officers found a live puppy, a hotel keycard sat on the dash, and a set of lips were painted in lipstick across the back window. Zebb's family made mention that the driver's seat had been moved forward, like someone shorter had been behind the wheel. That detail lined up with a tip police received. A woman was seen driving that car a week prior, with a man in the passenger seat. Some thought that woman resembled Misty Taylor. Others weren't so sure. In this episode, we follow the people and the clues that tried to untangle what happened. This is Sequestered, Season 2, Case 5, The Disappearance and Murder of Zebb Quinn, Part 2. In early 2000, cell phones weren't yet universal. A lot of people, especially teens, still carried pagers. I know I did. To page someone, you'd dial their pager number, hear a series of beeps, then punch in a callback number before hanging up. Seconds later, the pager would beep or vibrate, and a small LED screen would light up with that number. Pagers had their own shorthand, too. For example, you could leave a callback number and then add the numbers 143, which meant I love you, based on the number of letters in each word. Or you could put 07734, which read hello when you read it upside down. But if you received a 911, that meant call me ASAP. It's not clear what numbers flashed across the screen of his pager that evening, but for Zebb, that page and the phone call that followed would be cause enough for him to abruptly change his plans and leave in a hurry. Eventually, police would trace that page back to a landline, but not just any landline. It actually came from the home of Zebb's aunt on his father's side, Ina Ustich. A little context here. Zebb's parents divorced when he was young. His father, Jerry Wayne Quinn, was a Vietnam veteran, a Marine, and a respected member of the Asheville community. He stayed in the area, stayed in touch with his son, and owned a local restaurant and bar where Zebb would sometimes meet up with friends, including Jason Owens, to shoot pool. A woman named Misty Taylor worked there as a waitress. She was close friends with Zebb's aunt Ina, so close that the two women were even planning to open a restaurant together. So here's where things start to connect. Tamara's daughter is Misty Taylor. And just weeks before his disappearance, Zebb met Misty for the first time at his dad's bar, where she was waiting for her mom to finish her shift. The two exchanged numbers and began talking regularly. But Misty had a secret. She had a baby and a boyfriend, Wesley Smith, who was known to be abusive and controlling. Friends and family warned Zebb to stay away from Misty, but despite their warnings, he kept talking to her. By all accounts, his feelings for her were genuine, and his advances were innocent, maybe even a little naive. Now, we can't corroborate these next details, but according to the Reddit web sleuths, on New Year's Eve, 1999, while the century was turning and the world was welcoming in a new year, Zebb and Misty reportedly spent the entire night talking on the phone. But over the next 2 days, Misty would ignore Zebb's pages and any of his attempts to contact her. On January 2nd, at some point before his shift began at Walmart, Zebb finally decided to call Misty. Usually, he would dial *67 before calling, blocking his number so that Wesley didn't know it was him. But that time he forgot, and Wesley answered. Zebb's grandmother just happened to be walking in the room as he hung up the phone, She later reported that she saw the fear on his face as he told her,
"I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble now."
Zebb Quinn vanished. When police questioned Ina Ustich about the page that originated from her house on the night of January 2nd, she denied making the call. According to the Charlie Project, she said she wasn't even home and had been out to dinner that night with a friend. That friend was Tamra Taylor, Misty's mother. And, according to ABC 13 News, while Ina was out to that dinner, her house was reportedly broken into. Nothing was stolen, but items had been moved. Picture frames, personal belongings, just enough to look disturbed, just enough to report. So, was this just a strange coincidence? Or did someone know she'd be gone and decided to use Ina's phone to lure Zebb into a haunting trap? On January 16th, 2 weeks after his disappearance, Zebb's abandoned Mazda was found parked at a local barbecue joint. As we know, police found strange clues inside. First, let's talk about the hotel keycard. Despite efforts from investigators, I was shocked to learn that it was never linked to any specific hotel. The keycard obviously bore no markings or logos that would tie it to a specific hotel chain or brand. It shouldn't surprise me that at the turn of the century, keycards could sometimes be traced, especially if the property used RFID technology, which kept more detailed logs. But the older magnetic stripe systems, which is what we were dealing with here, offered limited tracking. And if the hotel had switched card systems or purged records, the trail could go cold quickly. Whether police checked every hotel in the area or if the card was planted as a red herring, it was never made public. Oh, and let's not forget the 3-month-old live Labrador puppy found in the back seat. The family confirmed it didn't belong to Zebb, and I can't help but wonder, why a puppy? Was it meant to be a distraction, a message, or just random? There's no public record that police ever scanned it for a microchip or tried to trace its breeder or origin. Microchipping was available in the year 2000, and many shelters and veterinarians used it regularly to scan found animals. Even without a chip, breeder paperwork could have been a lead. But if the police checked, they've never said. And that silence makes me think they either didn't, or whatever they found, they've kept it to themselves. What we do know is that one of the investigators eventually adopted that puppy. And look, good for the puppy. But still, what was it doing there in the first place? In the years after Zebb disappeared, Jason Owens was never far from law enforcement's radar. He spent a total of 23 months in prison for various minor offenses, mostly unrelated to Zebb's case, but each one adding to a growing picture of someone who seemed comfortable skirting the law. Then, in February of 2001, more than a year after Zebb vanished, police took a more direct step. They served a search warrant on Owens. Investigators collected his blood, hair, and saliva, along with trace evidence from both Owens' car and Zebb's car. They believe they had DNA from both vehicles, but without a clear, conclusive match linking it to Zebb, it wasn't enough for an arrest. So Owens walked free. And then that other red flag. Remember the day after Zebb disappeared, someone called his supervisor at Walmart to say he wouldn't be coming in for his next shift because of a family emergency? That might seem small, but Zebb was a reliable employee, and if something serious had happened, his family would have been the first to know. We know that call did not come from Zebb. It came from Jason Owens, and Owens eventually admitted to making the call, claiming Zebb had asked him to do it. But investigators and Zebb's family didn't buy it. To them, it sounded like a deliberate attempt to buy time before anyone raised an alarm. And Owens was feeling the pressure. In late October of 2002, he was arrested again, this time after leading police on a high-speed chase through Asheville. Officers suspected he was driving while intoxicated. When they tried to pull him over, Owens took off, swerving through streets until he crashed his truck into a mailbox, flipped it, and ended up in the hospital. 9 days later, while Owens was still dealing with the fallout from the chase, police served another search warrant. This one was tied directly to Zebb's disappearance. They collected Owens' blood, hair, and saliva again, hoping advances in forensic testing might finally give them what they needed. But even 2 years after Zebb vanished, they still didn't have enough to charge Owens. 4 years after Zebb Quinn disappeared, police made a public move. They released never-before-seen surveillance footage from the night he vanished. According to the Asheville Citizen-Times, on January 2, 2000, the video shows Zebb walking into a Citgo gas station on Hendersonville Road at 9:14 p.m., just seconds after Robert Jason Owens. The two bought soft drinks, casually chatting at the counter before walking out together. It's the last confirmed sighting we have of Zebb on video. Him and Owens, side by side, walking out of the Citgo. From here, the timeline starts to unravel. Police reveal that shortly after leaving the gas station, Zebb received a series of pages. Owens told investigators those messages led them to pull their vehicles over near Robertson High School. He claimed Zebb accidentally rear-ended him, apologized, then drove away. But police said that after those pages came in, Zebb never responded, and he never came home. By this point, investigators weren't calling it a missing persons case anymore. They were calling it what they believed it was, a homicide. Every lead was followed, every possibility was tested, and still, they had nothing to bring Zebb home. In 2005, Asheville police tried a different approach. They reenacted the scene between Owens and Zebb on the night of January 2nd, hoping that seeing the two cars stop in public might jog someone's memory or bring in new tips. Here's a clip from WLOS News 13's The Good Kid.
Asheville police officers reenact what they know about the minutes just before 18-year-old Zebb Quinn disappeared. Officers are posing as Zebb and Jason Owens, who they believe was the final person to see him alive.
The reenactment made headlines, but again, no concrete evidence came in. Fast forward to 2007. Detectives secure a search warrant for Jason Owens' property in Leicester, North Carolina. This time, it was more than a routine check. Now, Jason Owens had been officially named a person of interest in Zebb's case. Owens had always been the quiet shadow in this story. The last known person to see Zebb alive, the man whose stories kept changing, the voice who called Walmart pretending to be Zebb. The 2007 warrant was a big step. Investigators searched for any trace of Zebb, clothing, personal items, remains, or forensic evidence that might still be on the property, even after 7 years.
New information on the Quinn case led detectives to execute a search warrant on a piece of property in Leicester.
As you know, there's never been a body recovered in the investigation involving Zebb Quinn's disappearance. The Asheville Police Department is committed to leaving no stone unturned.
Based on new leads and all these years later, Owen is now a person of interest.
We are serving a search warrant on this property, and we would like to recover evidence in the furtherance of the investigation involving the disappearance of Zebb Quinn.
They've asked for this man's help. He's a forensics geophysicist from Colorado.
In many cases, small departments, and Asheville's not small, but they don't understand the value of aerial photographs nor how to obtain aerial photographs.
Clark uses remote sensing to detect disturbances in the ground that may reveal what investigators are looking for.
Obviously, a 7-year-old case can create a lot of challenges. There is no direct area that we're searching. It's a very large area.
But after 2 days of extensively searching this property, nothing. Authorities did not find any evidence linking Jason Owens to the murder, and they determined this is not where the crime took place.
The search turned up no new evidence, no physical link to Zebb. And once again, Jason Owens walked away without charges. For years, Owens stayed quiet about Zebb Quinn. Maybe too quiet. Then, in 2015, police were called to another home in Leicester. This time, it wasn't just one person who had vanished. It was two. It was March of 2015, Leicester, North Carolina. Two people had gone missing. Neighbors started to notice first. Cristie Codd and her husband, Joseph JT Codd, hadn't been seen in several days. Their cars were still in the driveway. Their phones went straight to voicemail. Friends tried calling, texting, stopping by. Nothing. When police did a welfare check, they didn't find signs of a break-in or a robbery. But the place felt off, like the Codds had just stepped out but never came back. And then a familiar name surfaced, Robert Jason Owens. Before I tell you what police found, you need to know who the Codds were, because it makes what happened next even harder to take in. Cristie Codd was one of those people who lit up every room she walked into. Born in Madrid, Spain, to two hardworking military parents, she grew up in New Orleans, surrounded by the sounds, the flavors, and the energy of the city. She graduated from LSU with a double major in German and theater, then trained at the Atlantic Theater Company in New York. Cristie loved the Meisner technique, a style of acting that's all about living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It's about really listening and reacting in the moment so that every performance feels alive. But acting wasn't her only passion. Cristie was fluent in German, a talented oil painter, and a gifted chef with a soft spot for Cajun food. She turned that passion into Tree Hugger Catering, an eco-conscious company serving major film productions with sustainable meals and biodegradable products. In 2012, Katie competed on Season 8 of Food Network Star, where America got to know her as Cajun. According to her IMDb bio, her mission was simple: bring people together through food, creativity, and kindness. Cristie's husband, Joseph JT Codd, worked behind the camera in Hollywood. He was a key grip, the person who makes sure every camera rig, track, and lighting setup works seamlessly to create the perfect shot. JT's credits included shows like Carnival, and he was respected in the industry for his skill and work ethic. The couple married in October 2014 and were expecting their first child, a little girl they planned to name Skylar. They should have been spending that spring preparing a nursery and imagining their new life together. Instead, police were piecing together a crime scene. The break in the case came from a tip.
So to recap, here's the new information released today on this case. We now know that a call came in about someone suspicious throwing a bag into a dumpster in Candler. And that led investigators to suspect Robert Jason Owens.
We also learned Owens' wife told investigators Owens said he killed JT Codd, running him over with a truck.
And a big piece of evidence here. The sheriff revealed human remains were found inside a wood stove in the home on Owens' property, the same home destroyed by fire this morning.
Someone had seen a man tossing large trash bags into a commercial dumpster. That man was Robert Jason Owens, a handyman who had done work for JT, and someone the Codds knew. When investigators searched Owens' property, they made a horrifying discovery. Inside his wood-burning stove, there were charred remains of Cristie, JT, and their unborn daughter. They had been dismembered, burned, and discarded. Next week, we hear from those who loved Cristie most.
The Food Network is in shock today over the murder of one of its former contestants. Cristie Codd and her husband JT were found slain, and a neighbor hired to work on their home is now charged with the murders. Adding to the senseless tragedy, Cristie was 5 months pregnant with her first child.
This is like a dream come true.
38-year-old Cristie was a contestant on season 8 of Food Network Star in 2012.
I am just extremely excited, and I am so ready to just start this already.
Cristie was a finalist on the show. A lot was at stake. If she'd won, she would have been given her own show. But Cristie showed a lot of class when she was booted off.
It's been an amazing experience for me. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Everybody is speechless.
Cristie became close friends with fellow contestant Emily Ellen.
When I found out she was 5 months pregnant, and oh gosh, it's just so sad.
Cristie got married to JT Codd last October. They bought this home near Asheville, North Carolina. The suspect they hired as a contractor lived in a house a half-mile away. 36-year-old Robert Jason Owens is now charged with the double homicide and the death of an unborn child. This tribute to Cristie was just posted by a friend. It shows her snorkeling, fishing in a raft, and at target practice. And of course, she was always cooking something.
She had this radiant energy. She was sunshine.
Jason Owens would later claim it was all a tragic accident, that he accidentally ran over the couple when their truck got stuck in a ditch. But if that's true, why didn't he call for help? And why did he try to destroy every trace of their bodies? And if he was capable of this in 2015, what does that say about what might have happened to Zebb Quinn in the year 2000? All this and more on part 3 of this case. I'm Sarah Reed. Thanks for listening. Please rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can get ad-free and bonus episodes early as a subscriber on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.